because some of them are also a little confused about.
Is it the people on the list?
Some, yes, some of it's just, you know, am I in the right space and all of that. So
Okay.
let's find them. Here we go. I found Judge. As you file in here, folks, just bear with us. We've got a number of people that Rebecca and I need to pull into the panel so that you can see their faces when they speak for this piece. So just bear with us as you come in and have a seat. Okay, I see Linda, Judge, I see you here. I pulled in Walter. Let's see. Let's go find Jerry here. I see you, Jerry. I'm pulling you in now.
I've got Haley.
Okay,
Judge
Haley.
Sloan.
Haley doesn't need to, she doesn't have to come in. I don't see Angela yet.
Hello.
Judge
just-
Sloan.
Hey, everybody.
I left you a message. Can you call me before 4?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, dear. Hey, Walter. Hey, Taryn. Hey, Linda. I've already said hey to Marie and Rebecca.
Okay.
Good to see everybody.
Oh, does Haley not need
So-
to be in here?
She doesn't have to be. For you, for the attendees, if you guys would just hang out for just a second as we finish pulling in everybody that we need to pull in.
Marie, can you hear me?
I can. I don't know who that was, but I can hear you.
That was Jerry Easter.
Hi, I see you, Jerry. You've got a suit on.
Yeah, I do.
Let's see. Okay. Department people, is there anybody else that needs to be pulled in, or is that good?
I think Linda and Taryn. They're here.
Walter, do I have permission to pull in the 3 guests we spoke about?
Yes, I talked to them and you do have permission.
All right, I'm pulling them in now.
Where should I look over there?
Our family Ellen's
Hey, Anna.
folks.
Hey, Laura.
Hi.
Hey, Anna, Laura. Good to see y'all.
A little bit.
Okay.
Courtney
we-
doesn't
so
have
we-
her. I'm sorry, I was just saying, here's Courtney. Hey,
Hey,
Courtney.
Courtney.
So panelists, we all are in front of all the attendees. I just want you to know that we are live and we are we're on. It's a big production we've got going on here to have faces and all of that stuff. So we wanted to take a few minutes just to make sure everybody pulled in. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody I was supposed to bring in. If I did, you need to holler at me in chat and I can pull you in, but I think we're good to go. So I'm gonna make the view for the audience, the gallery view, so that they can see everybody. Instead of just the person speaking, I think that might be the best way to view this process as we move forward. And then I can switch it when we start getting into stories, okay? But for right now, we'll keep it this way so everybody can be seen. Welcome everyone to our session where we're gonna celebrate somebody we care about very much. And we have some guests that I wanna go ahead and make sure we introduce right off the bat so that you know that they're here with us. And to do that, Walter is I'm gonna give Walter the floor and let him introduce them.
Okay, thank you, Marie. And hello, everybody. I'm so glad to be a part of this meeting today about Ellen Abbott. I believe most people with addiction issues do not need to be in jail. They need treatment. In working with courts and recovery courts, that was Ellen's and my connection. She's one of the best friends ever in my life. It made me think, as the Beatles wrote music, they wrote the best music ever, and they changed the music industry. No other band has ever done what they did. Ellen Abbott changed courts and created recovery courts all over Tennessee. So just like the Beatles, no one will ever be as successful in creating recovery courts and educating Tennessee's criminal justice system as Ellen Abbott was. But really, I just wanted to say that, and really who I wanted to introduce was, we are so fortunate to have Ellen's 3 daughters, her 3 children with us. Anna Abbott is here, Courtney Mitchell is here, and Laura Abbott is here with us. So hello, everybody. I'm so glad y'all are with us. And Marie, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay. And ladies, if you want to turn your cameras off, you're welcome to. You're on the panel with us, so we can see you, which is great. It's lovely to see your faces. You don't have to keep them on if you don't want to, as people share their Ellen stories, which is what we are going to get into now. So I don't have a long kind of, thing to say about this. What I would like for everyone here to focus on as we talk about Ellen today is, as you're listening to the stories that people are going to share about her, pay attention to those characteristics that, we all know and love about Ellen. Pay attention to those personality characteristics, those things that made Ellen who she is and how we know her. I was thinking just a few minutes before opening this, that if Ellen were standing here right next to me right now, that face, you guys know what face she would be making right now if she knew we were all here doing this. I can just picture it because I got that face when she won the Christy Vernon Spirit Award, right, Angela? She was giving us that face then. So I know the face she would give us now, but we're doing it anyway because we want to. Before we get started with the stories, I have a very short, beautiful clip to share with you guys that Matthew Perriott from the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services did for us.
Yes, said she's seen more on the table. Right?
Hold on. I want to make sure I get this right. Bear with me. Okay, that's making me nervous. Hold on. I'm not seeing it. Why am I not seeing it?
What's this right here?
Okay, hold on. Bear with me. Everybody sees that? Panelists, you guys see my screen with Ellen and?
Yes, we do.
Okay, very good.
Actually, Marie, we see the screen of all of us on your screen.
Of course. I'm gonna have so is somebody else sharing their screen? What's happening? Okay, be patient.
Hey, is Matthew Perriott on here, Marie?
He might be.
If he is,
This
he
is
would
so
know.
weird.
Yeah, let me see if I can call him real quick.
I mean, it's usually not that difficult to start a video.
Right.
Someone just posted something in the chat that said if you go to view, look in the chat, Marie.
Hey, are you on the?
If you go to the view options, it should allow you to share screen too.
Yeah, when I look at screen 2, I see you guys. Are you guys seeing yourselves?
You
panelists.
see your desktop right now.
Yeah, we see your desktop, yes.
I know, I don't know why this is up right here. This is driving me nuts. Hold on. All right, do you guys see that?
Got
There
it.
you
You
go.
got it.
Yes.
That's it. Marie, we don't have any volume. It disappeared again. Still no volume.
You can't hear it at all?
No.
Hey, Marie Crossan.
Yes. Yes.
Matthew's on. If you can make him a presenter, he can get it up.
I'll
and
let
going.
him in.
All right. Rebecca's gonna let you in. This happens to all of us, Marie. I couldn't even do as much as you've done. I mean, I'm
Well,
serious.
and the one time I think, oh, well, it's just sharing a video, of course. I'm assuming, Matthew, that you have the video with you too. Make
It
sure he is.
says, host disabled participant screen sharing.
Hold
Oh,
on.
if y'all tackle
Where are
that, I
you?
will dig up the file.
Let me find you. Bear with us, guys.
Marie Crossan, while you're doing
I
that,
promise.
I forgot to say something. As smart as Ellen is, her daughter Anna is very close to becoming a doctor. Courtney is an occupational therapist, and Laura, I forget what you're still in school for, but you told me, and they're all smart. They're all smart, just like their mom.
Yeah.
Matthew?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are you?
It still says host disabled participant screen sharing.
That should not be a problem. Hold on.
Okay, here we
How about
go.
now?
Optimize for video clip. Select it.
And he's gonna do it, and it's gonna be.
Fingers crossed.
Basically, we're meeting the individuals where they're at. And when you meet them where they're at, then you actually can work with them on their strengths and figure out how you can use those strengths to help them get on a path of recovery. It's really amazing that you can just sit down and have just a one-on-one conversation with a judge, and then 2 or 3 more will come in and join the conversation. They really, really want to help people. For those that are in the criminal justice system, we need to make sure that we provide the services and the guidance that they need in order to get back into the community and become productive citizens. Get out there and let's try to help them and get them back to where they need to be.
Thank you for saving me, Matthew.
And I think I have it as a YouTube link. I'll pop the link in the chat so people can watch it if they like and share it.
Thank you for that. Okay, so beautiful video, and we're going to hear some great stories about Ellen. Keep in mind those characteristics and those things about her personality as we move along in the stories. And the first story I would like to share is a letter from Judge Norman. He is not able to be here with us today, but I have his words and I'm going to read those. Very few people had the dedication to serve those suffering from addiction that Ellen Abbott had. She tried her best to hide her warm heart and deep devotion behind sometimes gruff appearance and attitude, but many who knew her were aware that it was a false front. I also knew when she gave me a certain look, we all know the look, I needed to sit down, shut up, and listen. I had the pleasure of working with her for a number of years, and she supported us getting a drug court in the 13th Judicial District. Then came the Morgan County Residential Recovery Court, and she helped us get that started. And then the veterans in Morgan County, she helped us do that when we needed to add that. She listened to me harp for years on needing a women's residential program. The last couple of years, we began working to establish a program similar to Morgan County, but for females. We were fortunate to have someone who had many contacts and passion. Miss Abbott did not come in trying to change everything. She knew there was no cookie cutter way for all programs to be. She spent time with us and wanted to learn, asked how she could help. In this time, she gave us advice and met us where we were. We learned from her. This is precisely how we have been able to accomplish much that we have. The staff knew she appreciated the hard work and felt her support, and the residents knew she cared. I firmly believe she understood the importance of having long-term residential drug court treatment for some individuals who could not make it in a traditional drug court if not for this type of program. Ellen was approachable and devoted. I was privileged to call her a friend. Through that relationship, I found a warm, friendly person with a great sense of humor. That one comes up a lot. She was a dedicated advocate of recovery and for many of us, a friend. And that's from Judge Norman. I also have a video that Jerry Thomas and Dr. Job did. In the interest of time, I'm going to hang on to that and see how we get. If for some reason we don't make it in our time frame here, I will share it with you guys after the fact so you can see it, because it's also, there's a lot of humor and great stories about Ellen in this video, but I'm concerned about the time at this point and just want to make sure that we have time for those present to share their stories, okay? But you'll definitely have a chance to hear those. So with that being said, if Judge Dwayne Sloan would step up to the mic.
I'm stepped up. Can you hear me?
We can.
Really great to be a part of this, and Anna and Laura and Courtney. I'm so glad that you're with us. You're all beautiful, and your mother just loved and loves you so much. Ellen, when I think of Ellen, I think of her as not only a giant, but she was the giant in the state of Tennessee at the intersection of behavioral health and criminal justice, or civil justice. If you're involved in the justice systems, she's that giant that stood at that intersection, and she equipped all of us, as Judge Norman mentioned or alluded to, with the resources that we needed, the training that we needed, and the equipment that we needed to be able to go as far upstream as possible and meet people where they are and provide them with hope and healing. Your mother was well known, not just across the state of Tennessee, from Mountain City to Memphis, but from the northeastern part of this country. I had the opportunity to travel all over this nation really in the last several years. And whether it was at Washington, D.C. or Minnesota, it could be in Kansas City or San Diego. It was incredible that the people that would bring your mother's name up to me and ask me if I knew. They would say, of course, you know Ellen Abbott. She was so well respected, again, across this entire state and this nation. We were so fortunate to have her. some of you are familiar with our story, the Sloan's story, where we adopted a child with neonatal absence syndrome in 2011, and I committed myself to this, taking this really deep dive in to try to really understand addiction and to be able to help people more, and making that full commitment. My path inevitably crossed your mom's and crossed Ellen's path, and so I remember then coming along beside of her, and in my zeal and my passion. I never will forget this drug court conference. It was in December, I think, of 2016. And so Ellen was on the front row, because some of you know Dr. Stephen Lloyd, a good friend of ours and a good friend of yours. And Dr. Lloyd and I had put together what we knew was going to end the opioid crisis globally. And Ellen stood and Liz sat there on the front row, and somebody said, Ellen could not play poker very well. And so as we outlined how we were going to end the opioid crisis, her eyes got bigger and bigger and bigger, and her mouth started contorting in the ways that y'all know exactly what I'm talking about, right? And so we were so dang proud of ourselves. And so when we walked out, though, I do a fair job at reading jurors and people anyway, but it didn't take much to read Ellen's body language. So we went out, and so we started talking to her, and again, we felt really good about what we had outlined. And one of the first things she said, Judge, she said, my job is to shoot holes in everything that you said and you laid out. And I was like, are you kidding me? And I'm a judge. I'm not used to people telling me no and how wrong I am. And so I even remember joking with Marie Cross and some. I used to call her Dr. No, because it was always a no to this and a no to that and the things that I would ask for. But what I came to understand is that what your mother, and has been mentioned already, is that her deep desire and her commitment was to meet hurting people where they are, and to equip us, to intervene in their lives, in that special place in our lives. And your mother was one of these special people that understood things from a very high level and understood the big picture, but she also knew every small detail in all the different moving parts that puts that all together. And she understood how we could improve on moving parts and parts that were missing and how they should be added. And so when you have really great ideas, what she was doing is saying, I want to shoot holes in it. She was doing what Proverbs 27:17 says that a friend should do. And that says that as iron sharpens iron, so does a friend sharpen the mind of another. Your mother was such a dear friend to me. She was a dear friend to everybody on this panel and so many people, again, across this state and nation. But she made me a better person, a better judge, a better advocate. And we, she has left a void, not only, I know in my heart and of course her children that she loves so much, but in this entire state and indeed this nation, she's much loved, much respected. And one last thing that you might not know so well about your mother, but maybe you did because she's your mother, is her patience. She was a patient woman. At least she was with yours truly. I promise you, I gave her a lot of things to be patient about. That's all I had. Thank you.
Jerry Easter, it's your turn. You got to turn hold on. I'm going to ask you to unmute, Jerry. There you go.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, first off, Marie and everyone else, thank you for giving me what I consider to be a high honor to have the opportunity to speak today about my friend, Ellen Abbott. Shakespeare quoted Mark Antony saying, "I come today not to praise Caesar, but to bury him." Well, I tell you today, I come not to bury Ellen Abbott, my friend, but to praise her. She was an amazing woman. For those of you that knew Ellen, there's nothing I can say that you don't already know. For those of you that didn't know Ellen, it's your loss. And I could talk till the cows come home and you still wouldn't know the Ellen that I knew. Ellen, in this day of virus and infections, Ellen Abbott had a virus. Ellen Abbott had a virus of love. She had a virus of compassion. She had a virus of empathy. She had a virus of never, never, ever quitting. That virus was infectious, and it infected everyone she came across. She never quit. Everything, I've been doing this now only 8 years, and everything I know about running a treatment court that works, I learned from Ellen. The rest of the stuff I made up on my own, and it don't work. But it took Ellen quite some time to explain to me what our reason for existence was. We in the treatment field have no justification to exist if we don't meet them where they are and treat them and do our darndest to help them. She also taught me that there will be failures. We cannot save them all. But she insisted that if those failures exist, and they will, that they not be failures on our part, that they not be failures for our caring, they not be failures for our trying, and accept the fact that there will be failures. One of the things I loved about Ellen, and Judge, as you may or may not know, I'm an old courthouse lawyer, and Ellen also had that she would not let a system that was designed to help people stop us from helping people. I never saw Ellen say, there isn't a way to do that. She would always fight to find a way to make it work. Sometimes she would walk that fine line within the system, but by golly, she always pressed it and came with results. You know, Ellen's father was a doctor, and knowing Ellen, I'm sure he was an excellent physician. But I'm here to tell you that not one doctor, not 10 doctors, not many doctors have saved as many lives as Ellen Abbott has saved through her efforts through treatment courts. She truly has saved hundreds of lives that deserved a chance and deserved her desires. To the daughters, as you go through life, you're going to have difficulties. You're going to have hard times. You're going to have hard decisions. But let me suggest to you that you do what we're now doing in our treatment court. We ask ourselves the question, what would Ellen do? And once we realize that, we almost always get the right decision. Thank you for this opportunity.
All right, y'all. Goodness. Powerful. Okay, now it is time to hear from Ellen's colleagues at the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. Commissioner Williams.
Thank you. I've actually asked Taryn and Linda to go before me, so they'll be speaking first. Marie, thank you so much.
Okay, absolutely.
You know, Ellen was feisty, forward, and honest with her thoughts and feelings. And that's a characteristic that she and I share. honest with our thoughts and feelings. I tell you, on our leadership team, if you were working on a project and you needed someone to help you strategize and try to figure out how to get it done, she was the person that was in the room. We were all sometimes gathered in her office to just work through and try to think through how we could make something work. But besides that, she was also sensitive, caring, and giving. And one of my most favorite memories of Ellen is about a gentleman who wrote her a letter who was incarcerated. Now, this wasn't just any letter. This letter had writing all on the outside of the letter. It was really scary because I remember when she received it, when the post office delivered it, the state post office, and we like looked at the letter like, I don't know if I want to touch this letter. Because it was during the time of the anthrax scare when, you know, people were mailing anthrax. So you kind of looked at the letter, you didn't know if you want to touch it or not. And so, but we could tell that the post office had opened the letter up. You could see it was open and they had marked to say that they had opened it to let us know. So we said, okay, it's safe. So she opened up the letter, she pulled the letter out, and it was just writing all over this letter, but some kind of way you could figure out he was reaching out to her for help. And so I can remember saying, Ellen, how did he get your name? And she said it like Ellen would say, I don't know. And so, you know, I just laughed at her. I laughed at her. I said, okay. She said, well, let me see. So she actually looked into his case. And you know, she figured out, you know, it wasn't much she could really do to help him. But what she did do is she started to communicate with him. And so she forced a relationship with him. So every so often she would get a letter from him and it would look the same way. Just stuff just written all on the outside of the letter. You could see where the post office opened it up to make sure that it wasn't something dangerous, you know. And, you know, about maybe once a year, so she would get this letter. So anyway, one day I walked into her office and I could tell that she'd been crying. And I said, Ellen, what is wrong? Are you okay? She said, yeah, Taryn, you remember the guy that, you know, that's incarcerated, you know, we kind of write back and forth. She said, I found out today that he passed away. And I was like, oh, Ellen, I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm just so sorry to hear that, she said. But you know what, Taryn, what really gets me is that he is alone. He didn't have anybody. He didn't have anybody. And it's just, they're going to put him in a pine box and just bury him in the city cemetery, and nobody's even know he's going to be there. But she said, I just can't take it. I'm going to put some flowers on his grave. And so I'm like, and I know where he was located. I said, well, how are you going to do that? How are you going to do that? She said, I'm going to call somebody and tell them to do it. Now, everybody on this call know, and that I'm talking to, when she calls you and tells you to do something, you go and do it. So she called this person, I'm not gonna call their name, and she told them to go put some flowers on that person's grave. I saw that person later on. I said, did you go put those flowers on that grave? That person said to me, you know I did, because Ellen called me and told me to go do it. And that's exactly what I went and did, put some flowers on that grave. So I'm just saying to you guys, you know, she loved you all. She was so proud of you. And I just want you to know, we were proud of her too. And we were just grateful to have her on our team, because she was just not only a team member, but she was a friend. And we just really miss having her just to laugh. And, you know, Speedy Gonzalez, we called her. I mean, you know, we did after hour things together. So I'm not, can't go there. Commissioner Williams is on, because she'll need to know. But we just shared a lot with each other, and I'm just so grateful that I had the opportunity at the time to share with her. Linda, I turn it over to you.
All righty then. So that story that Taryn just shared was going to be part of what I was going to tell you as well. But there's another part of that story that she didn't talk about, and I think it's that same fella that needed shoes. And so Ellen made the call, won't say who it was, to someone, and asked him to take this fella some shoes. So Ellen had such a good heart and just know that she did. She was a good friend as well as a coworker, and we shared a wall when we were in the office. And so we could hear each other's conversations sometimes. And so she would say, "Did you hear such and such?" And sometimes I would tune it out, but we had many conversations about a lot of things, personal as well as professional. We traveled a lot together. So you really get to know someone when you travel with them. I like to travel with Ellen. She drove fast, but we always got there safely and on time or before time. So I never minded the driving because she was safe. And so I will miss that among other things as well. But she's definitely has a big heart, and she had a big heart for the criminal justice system. And just like people have spoken about, that was where her heart was. And for those in the audience, I know that you have to have a heart for the criminal justice folks. Otherwise, you're not going to make an impact. And so, like we've said, she did make a great impact, and she will be missed every day. Well, thank you.
Thanks, Tara, and thanks, Linda, for sharing your words from our department and people that loved your mom, Laura and Courtney and Anna. I can't even begin to imagine the loss you feel. It's really weird because there are days when I think I need to call Ellen. I called your mom a lot. I don't know if she dreaded those calls when my number showed up. If she said, "Oh my gosh, it's the commissioner calling." But I want to share with you some things about your mom and her character. And I hope that you know that I pray for you daily, because if I feel the loss in our team and the judge and Jerry, Rebecca, Marie, Walter, Angela, if we feel this loss, I can't even imagine how you feel. And please know that you are always in our prayers. Please know that. Yesterday, when I spoke about Ellen looking down from heaven, watching all of the amazing things that are going on in the state related to a trifecta of funding this year that she wanted so badly. I don't know if y'all knew that she wanted to expand recovery courts. She wanted to expand the criminal justice liaison. She wanted to do more residential. It's all happening this year, stuff she fought so hard for. But last night, as I was thinking about today, I thought about something that I'd like to talk to God about when we all get to heaven, and we all will be there with your mom and you. And that is, God, why did you have to decide to put recovery courts in heaven and take two of the best from the state? He called Ellen and Judge Brock up there to start recovery courts. And I'm not good with that. There could have been other people that could have started recovery courts. But I swear to you, I think she's up in heaven saying, "Okay, we need some recovery courts up here." And they are starting as we sit today. When I reflect on her character, Judge, I went to Proverbs as well. Some lines from Proverbs. The first one, her lamp does not go out at night. Girls, I am sure that you saw the same Ellen that we saw. This woman was an Energizer bunny. It didn't matter if I called her at 10 o'clock, which happened at one juncture that Judge Sloan is aware of, or whether I called her at 7 a.m., her lamp never went out. And what an amazing testament to the fact that each day is a precious gift that God gives us, and that we get to choose whether we're going to show up 100% like your mom did, or we get to choose that we're going to sort of wait it out. Your mom was a daily example. I know people say that sometimes when people die, but you have heard it here. This is not just words. It is true. Your mother was always on, always present, always pushing for the best thing to do. Jerry, your words were awesome, and Judge Sloan about that. The next verse in Proverbs, she girds herself with strength. Ellen was a force to be reckoned with, and you've heard it from the judge. You've heard it from Taryn and Linda. I tell you what, you could read her face. I didn't even have to ask her questions. Like if I started talking nonsense, her face and Taryn's face both rolling their eyes, sitting back. I mean, do y'all remember that sit back she does like that? I mean, it's like, and I just stopped and go, Ellen, what's wrong with what I'm saying? What's wrong with what I'm saying? And she'd take that time and say, well, Commissioner, you didn't think about X, Y, Z, A, B, C. And you're absolutely right, Ellen. I did not think about all of that. So let's think about it and see how we can do this. And she always came up with a way to do it. The next part of that verse says, she walks with strength and dignity, and they are her clothing. She is more precious than jewelry. I can't tell you how Ellen's presence in a meeting, Ellen's presence outside of work and informal settings. There will never be another Ellen Abbott, as you said, Walter. There will never be another Ellen Abbott. There will never be another Ellen Abbott. And finally, she smiles at the future. Proverbs talks about smiling at the future. And I know that we all saw that smile. I miss her smile. We saw it on that video, smiling for the future. And that's why I do know that she's in heaven with Judge Brock looking down, and they're like, wow, can you believe that the governor's put this amount of money in recovery courts in this year and last year? I know they're smiling. I would just like to end by saying again, it was incredible the time we got to spend with your mom. And I know that you all will always hold in your hearts her character, her strength, her dignity. It's clearly shown today in what you're moving forward in your life. It was clearly shown as we met during the remembrance of her life a couple of months back. Please know how precious your life is. And please know how much we love and support your mom. Thank you so much, Marie, for the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys, each and every one of you, for being willing to be out here and be vulnerable and have your voice quiver and dot the I's and all of that stuff, because it is important. And you know, what we're going to share today is it's part of her legacy, you know, and that really is partly why we're here today. Is, you know, she leaves a legacy. And we want to acknowledge that, and we want to find ways to remember the impact that she's had on our lives. And so I want to turn it over to Angela Parkerson, who is our board president, to give her an opportunity to share what we're doing to kind of move forward with Ellen's legacy in the way that we can honor her. And to her family, thank you very much for being here and being with us today. Angela?
Thank you, Marie. Well, the TARCP, you know, we thought about honoring her and just naming the award. We had probably a whole meeting and a string of email chains. You heard her described as the driving force of criminal justice reform. You heard never quitting. You heard constantly moving forward. Those are all qualities that we wanted the name of the award to represent. So after much discussion, I will tell you the name of the award is the Ellen L. Abbott Vanguard Award. And let me tell you the definition, if you don't know, the Webster's definition of vanguard is the forefront of an action or movement, the group of people who are the leaders of an action or movement in society, politics, or the arts. The soldiers, ships that are the front of a fighting force that is moving forward. We think that describes Ellen, and a lot of you used synonymous words to describe her as forefront, advanced guard, spearhead, frontline, leading position, founders, pioneers, architects, creators, trailblazers, and we feel that all those words describe Ellen. So that would be a
we can't see your screens, but we know that everybody's applauding. Applaud. Sorry, Angela, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I think that says it all. If you feel you have time to play the video, do we?
We do actually. So one of the things of course, I'm now concerned in my ability here, but the video is just over 14 minutes, which is why I was like, oh no, now I've taken all this time that I was gonna give to this video. And unfortunately, Matthew doesn't have this video, so I'm gonna try. And we'll see if we can show it. Hold on. Panelists, nod at me. Can you see Jerry right now? Okay, cross your fingers.
First of all, when I think of Ellen, I think about someone that is passionate, committed, always thinking outside the box, and funny. And I have a couple of stories to share that I feel will explain my experience in working with Ellen and the impact that she's had on so many lives, and some of the headaches that she's given along the way as well. But when Ellen and I worked together in 2013, our big project was to get the Morgan County Residential Recovery Court up and going. This was the first time, keep in mind, that we were taking Judge Norman's vision, his residential recovery court, and implementing it in a rural area, rural community, using an old prison, boot camp, and prison annex. So we had a lot of hurdles, if you can imagine, to cross to get it up and going. And one of those entailed installing a kitchen. And let's just say there are a lot more steps to installing a kitchen than we had to take to get those into place. We had about 3 or 4 months to turn a prison boot camp or an old prison annex into a residential recovery court. And we had to get ready for a ribbon cutting ceremony for Governor Haslam and multiple commissioners. So it was crunch time, and Ellen and I and Liz and a lot of others worked together to pull this thing off. We also had a lot of things to get into place in terms of partnerships, and Ellen had a lot, and I say a lot, of contacts. She helped us form some of those core basics that are still being used today for psychiatric needs, for local Morgan County Medical Center. She was full of options and contacts, and that was extremely helpful. Some of the things that were important to get this program up and going that were overlooked, if you will, Ellen and I were there a lot. We practically lived at the Doubletree Hotel in Oak Ridge for periods of time. It was hot weather during the time that we were ready to get the program up and going. And Ellen and I both had on flip-flops because, let's be real, wearing heels at an old prison annex, it was uncomfortable and it just wasn't happening. There was a nice man over at the facility while we were getting it ready, fixed up, and he worked for TDOC, and he had the back of his pickup truck bed down. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I heard Ellen say, "Is that thing dead?" And the guy was so nice, and he said, "Yeah, you might want to be careful wearing sandals or flip-flops around here because there's a lot more of those where this one came from. And what he had was like a 5 or 6 foot poisonous snake laid out on the end of his pickup truck. And needless to say, after that incident, I thought it was hilarious what Ellen said, but she and I never wore flip-flops up there again. It was running shoes. So as I mentioned before, I think we had an extremely quick turnaround to get this program up and going, ready for a ribbon cutting ceremony for the governor and multiple commissioners, members of the legislature to cut the ribbon and open the facility. Inevitably, there are going to be things that you overlook when getting a project of this magnitude up and going. I'm known to carry binders around with probably too many details, while Ellen carried everything around in her head. It was unbelievable. 2 things that were very important to get this program up and going was to have a fully functioning kitchen, and the other was to have a partnership with the sheriff's department that in the event we needed someone to have a period of reflection, serve a jail sanction for failure to comply with a level 1 rule, or help serving a warrant. That was a big need for us. And we didn't have that. So one day, Ellen and I, we drove to the local jail. We asked if the sheriff was available. He was not available. And we were told he was at court. And we asked where that was. And the woman said, it's on the square. So there we were, Ellen, Liz, and I parked. And Ellen and I literally took turns every time a man with a law enforcement uniform had it on. We would ask, are you the sheriff? Are you the sheriff? Are you the sheriff? We didn't find the sheriff that day, but ultimately I did get in touch with him and invited him to lunch at the Morgan County Residential Recovery Court. And we talked to him about our needs for a partnership with the sheriff's department for jail sanctions, serving warrants on an as-needed basis. And needless to say, one thing that we learned was the Morgan County Jail is not quite as big and accessible as the Davidson County Jail that we're quite used to in Nashville. During lunch that day, this kind of goes into the other part of getting the kitchen up and going and having a fully functional kitchen at the facility. The guys, some of the residents made chili, and we were eating lunch, and the beans were crunchy, like potato chip crunchy. Judge Norman was embarrassed. It was the worst lunch that I've ever had. Ellen asked, why on earth? Needless to say, the lunch was terrible, but we did our best to educate the local sheriff on our partnership needs. He was not able to partner with us because they were an overcrowded small jail, and he didn't have the resources that we needed. And I called Ellen to update her, and she said, well, next time when you have lunch, can you just have something catered or something? She just thought it was hilarious because the lunch was absolutely horrible. And she said, next time, let's have better lunch and maybe we'll have better luck. It was just a typical Ellen response. And I said, well, what do we do now? And she said, well, Jerry, why don't you go around to the neighboring counties and talk to each of those sheriffs and see if they'll be willing to partner with us. And I'm thinking, okay, we're not from here and I'm just going to go in. But sure enough, I took Ellen's advice and I went and I met with multiple sheriffs. And we ended up brokering a partnership with the Anderson County Sheriff's Department that continues today. And we did not serve them crunchy beans that had been cooked for 18 hours in crock pots that we had because we did not have a fully functional kitchen. So those are just some memories that I have with Ellen, and just thinking about how far that we've come from going into Wartburg, Tennessee, extremely rural East Tennessee area, and taking an old prison boot camp, prison annex, and making it into a residential recovery court where people could heal. They heal. They can focus. And all the hurdles that we've jumped through and the thinking outside of the box and not giving up, Ellen was the perfect partner and leader for us to have with the state to be able to get something of this magnitude that's so important and so impactful up and going. And I can't help but think of the progress and strides we've made to get this women's residential recovery court up and going this year. And we're so excited. And the role that she played in so much of that. I was walking, I still to this day walk around with my binder, and I have all these little assignments from Ellen, who carried everything around in her head. And she's one of the most brilliant, passionate, get it done kind of people I've ever been fortunate to work with. Last but not least, Ellen took it an extra step when it came to her job. And one of the things I will always cherish and never forget was Ellen came up to visit court at Morgan County one day to see how the residents were going. And we were getting ready to start an evaluation with Lauren Allard. And lo and behold, behind my back, Dr. Job and Judge Norman and the residents had conspired to present me with my 10-year coin. And I have it here. And Ellen was present that day. And I asked her, I said, I didn't think you had time to come. You had meetings in Knoxville. And she said, Jerry, I told you I had something important that I wanted to be there for. And that was why. And I'm eternally grateful. She is our angel, and she has taught us so much, and we're going to make her proud with the Women's Residential Recovery Court. Thank you.
In our career, I've met very few people that I would label as brilliant. And Ellen is in that very few. Her intellect was amazing. She could file everything about Morgan County Residential Recovery Court in her head and ask me questions that I would have to look up, and I'm up there every day working. The other piece of her intellect and her memory was her picture in the DSM-5 beside of hyperactivity, because she had this boundless, amazing energy to put into a job, to put into any project, and an amazing amount of positive energy. You know, I whined about opening Morgan County Residential Recovery Court without a kitchen, and we use crock pots for months. And she'd just look at me and smile and say, go buy another crock pot and get over it, you know? Anytime I called her, she would help me find the solution for whatever our issue was. And anything that I learned, of all the things I learned from her, her unceasing optimism that whatever the task is, as a team, it can be done. Over and over, she showed me that. We have lunches at Morgan County, and she's been to several, and there are always homemade chocolate chip cookies. And Ellen was perpetually not supposed to eat them. She was watching her weight, or she wasn't eating sweets. And every time she left with a bag full of them and saying to me, don't you ever tell my girls about this. Don't you tell anybody in the office, and do not tell Liz. And I never did until now, because I think I can safely say it. If it wasn't chocolate chip cookies, it was homemade bread. And I would get the same instructions. Don't tell anybody, including Jerry. She through all of these 7.5 years of Morgan County Residential Recovery Court, we had growing pains. We had growing pains with the community when some of the guys absconded and acted a fool in the community. And her bottom line was, people don't realize these guys are in the community unsupervised. You have them supervised at your facility. Keep saying that. These guys need to be in the community. She never, ever forgot that. Excuse me a second. Of all the things that I miss about Ellen, it's knowing she had our back. No matter what, and she's told me more than once, that wasn't the right decision. She still had our back, whether it was with the legislature, it was with whatever bureaucrat, it was with whatever court. She was always there to help us be more than we thought we could be. I miss my friend. She's a good soul, a very good soul. Thank you.
So, first of all, when I think of Ellen, I think about
I'm glad we were able to watch that, especially since she mentioned the cookies and the bread, and specifically not telling her kids about it. I just thought that was hilarious. But anyway, I'm glad you guys got to hear those stories. I appreciate each and every person here today, and thank you very much for all of my storytellers. And thank you very much to Ellen's daughters, all family and friends on here today to help us celebrate Ellen. The Ellen L. Abbott Vanguard Award is something that will be given out at the December conference. So we look forward to the process of figuring out those details and sharing that with you again in December in person in a way to continue her legacy and celebrate Ellen and all those amazing characteristics that we've shared together today. Transitioning here at 2:45 is the first breakout. So you've got about 13 minutes of a break. And if you are sticking around, we will see you later this afternoon. Thank you all very much.